Hey guys, this is Sports Princess. Guys, I can't make this up. Like this this just doesn't add up. Um you can't tell me that what happened to Tua Tagovailoa on Sunday isn't connected to what happened to him Thursday night. I know this. They are connected, and the reason I know this is because the same thing happened to me. And the coaches and training staff, the medical personnel at the Miami Dolphins, his teammates, everybody in the organization with the Miami Dolphins failed Tua Tagovailoa. There comes a point you just have to save the player from themselves. You can't do this whole guys, you can you can pass concussion protocol. You can go through the concussion protocol thing and pass. But those things are not accurate. You can have symptoms later. Like when you hit your head, you may not have here's the thing. What people don't understand, you may not have symptoms right away, but you could have symptoms later. Look, I'm sorry, but I don't believe that anyone on the medical training staff really observed Tua. Or, I don't know. It's hard for me to believe that they did because, you know, this guy, Sunday, he hits the back of his head, immediately holds his head, stands up, shakes his head off, starts running, stumbles, and then next he has to be held up by his teammates. Correct me if I am wrong, and I've heard everybody say this, but it is apparently in their protocol if they suffer, I don't know how many gross motor skills after hitting their head, you're not allowed to play. I think it's like at least one or two, or I don't know how many. But I don't know who cleared Tua to go back in the game Sunday against the Bills. No, I can't, guys, I just can't believe that this was okay. I find it hard to believe that the Miami Dolphins organization felt that it was okay or knew that he was I just can't wrap my mind around it. It just doesn't add up. And then when they went to the hospital, he was released not long after being at the hospital. They diagnosed him with a concussion. They said he even flew home. Now, here's where I have a problem. They said that he flew home back to Miami with the team, and Mike McDaniel said that they even watched a movie together on his phone. The reason I don't believe that he was fully examined is, or maybe he was, but here's the thing that doesn't add up to me. After an injury like that, after you're diagnosed with a concussion, you're not supposed to be watching TV or being on your phone that much. I know this because that's exactly what I was told after I was diagnosed with my concussion. I'm not supposed to be on my phone. I'm not supposed to be watching a lot of TV. I'm not supposed to be looking at my phone a lot. Now, I do not believe that Tua was cleared by the doctors at the hospital to fly home. They probably told him and told their team and said, listen, he's been diagnosed with a concussion. I would give it a couple of days. I would not recommend letting him fly home tonight. What I think happened is that they probably ignored what was said at the hospital and flew him home anyway. That's to my understanding, that's what I believe happened. They probably ignored the instructions. You're not supposed to watch movies. You're not supposed to be on your phone a lot after you have a concussion. So Mike McDaniels kind of just made himself look dumb by saying that him and Tua watched a movie on his phone with them. You're not supposed to do that after you have a concussion. Guys, I can't make this up. And guys, I am not a doctor. No, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a expert concussion specialist neurologist. I'm not. But the thing about this whole situation is you don't need to be a doctor or concussion specialist to realize or see what happened. It's common sense at this point. You gotta use your common sense at this point. Tua Tagovailoa, after what happened on Sunday, should not have been playing Thursday night. I don't care if he passed concussion protocol. I don't care if he passed all the tests. You can pass and still not be okay. It's hard. The reason why you shouldn't play somebody so soon is because you don't know what's going to happen later. Symptoms can appear later. That tackle, that hit that he took on Thursday, wasn't even that hard of a hit or that hard of a... Yeah, he slammed his head on the ground, but from the looks of it, it didn't appear to be that rough. And for his hands to seize up like that leads me to believe that something was wrong with Tua Tagovailoa before. That leads me to believe that he probably was not fully recovered from the concussion that he had Sunday. And yes, guys, I am going to call it a concussion. He did not fully recover from the concussion that he had Sunday. They really need to take this seriously because there's this thing called second impact syndrome. It's when you take a blow to the head, second impact syndrome is when you suffer another blow to the head when your brain or you haven't fully recovered from the previous concussion that you had. So when you suffer a blow to the head and then you haven't fully recovered, that concussion isn't fully healed, and you take another blow to the head on top of that is what is dangerous. That is what will kill you. Second impact syndrome can not only end your career or sideline you for months, it can be fatal. It can be fatal. Players are going to lie and say they're fine. That's why you can't leave it up to the players. I know this because I did it myself. I lied and said I was fine. I'm good to go. 2 weeks later, I played in my rugby game, not 100% fully healed from the head injury I suffered 2 weeks prior. I suffered another blow to the head. It was from, I was going in to make a tackle. I was running, and I went in to make a tackle. My head went right into the player's hip. And guys, a hip is not a soft spot. I hit the cerebral, or the front part of my head, the top part right there. I hit my head really hard. Now, I laid there for like 2-3 seconds, and then I got back up and continued playing for 10 more minutes. And I think maybe it was just the adrenaline, but 10 minutes after I went down, 10 minutes after that, I ended up on the other side at the sideline at the other end. I ended up collapsing on the field. I sat down and I laid my head back, and I just fell back. And I don't think anybody realized what was wrong with me right away. A couple teammates checked me out, and then there was a player from the other team that was an ICU nurse. She came over. She ran over and said, "Can I take a look at her?" So she took one look at me and said she needs to go to the hospital. Guys, this is serious. And guys, I regret playing 2 weeks later. And guys, this is why you can't let a player go, "Yes, I feel fine." You got to save the player from themselves. And I wish to God that my team saved me from myself. They didn't, and you know what? They probably regret it. And you know what? I have some guilt feelings too, because I feel like I put them in a situation. I put the, and it's my fault. I put my team and my coaches in a situation. I feel like I may have violated their trust. And things are getting better with my team now, but I know there was definitely a lot of mistrust afterward, and I don't blame my team one bit. And that's why you gotta say, sometimes you just, regardless of what the doctor says, regardless of what the tests say, or whether somebody passes concussion protocol, sometimes you just gotta use common sense and just say, "Look, you're not playing. I care about you too much. I'm going to rest you and make sure you're okay, because I'm not taking any chances." You got to tell them no. Mike Tomlin with Ryan Clark, I guess they went to Denver, and I guess Ryan Clark has sickle cell. Mike Tomlin told Ryan Clark, he's like, "No, you're my son. You're not playing." That's exactly what Mike McDaniel should have done with Tua. should have done. That's exactly what he should have done. Sometime, and hopefully, and I don't think Mike McDaniel is a bad guy. I think Mike McDaniel here was just uneducated and I don't want to say he doesn't care about Tua. I think he genuinely does care about him, but I think I want to say he made a huge mistake here, and I think he has some regrets. And I think he just made a horrible, horrible mistake that could have costed his quarterback his career and maybe even his life. Guys, these things are serious. You have to take it serious. Look what happened to former Patriots Junior Sal, who ended up committing suicide. We do not want to see that happen to another football player, because unfortunately this has happened too much and it has to stop. I think from now on, I don't know what the NFL's plan is. The NFL does shady shit. But from going forward from now on, I think it needs to be mandated that regardless of what the doctor says, they need to implement a new protocol here. Here's the thing, what they should do. There is no way. They need to say, listen, we don't care if you pass the concussion protocol test that day. If you hit your head, you're not playing the next game, and you need to be observed and monitored and treated for the next, I don't know how many weeks, until we deem that you're okay to play. That's what they need to do. Clearly, this protocol clearly was not implemented with Tua. I'm sorry, but no competent neurologist, concussion person, doctor, trainer would have allowed Tua to go back in the game on Sunday against the Bills. There's no reason, there's no excuse. Guys, we all saw what happened. You don't need to be a doctor or a medical professional to see that Tua suffered a concussion on Sunday and then suffered another one on top of the one, and then suffered another one on Thursday on top of the one he had on Sunday. And this was all just irresponsibility. I think at some point you have to use your own judgment and not rely on the doctors and the nurses and the medical professionals. Sometimes you just have to use your own judgment and use your common sense and put the player first and say, no, you're not playing. You need to rest. We're not playing you until we fully investigate and realize that you're okay to play. That is what I think. Coaches failed Tua. The medical staff and neurologists on site, if they even were, failed him. And guys, I don't care what anyone says, his teammates failed him. If I saw my teammate hit their head and wobble, I would have been like, she's coming off. She is not playing. I'm sorry, but I do not. If that was my teammate, I would not have allowed that to happen. So everyone, including to his teammates, needs to be held accountable. for what happened. And because this is something that should not happen. And I hope to God it doesn't happen again. We cannot have, this cannot happen again. This is Sports Princess. I'm out.